So, what do I recommend that you eat for breakfast? That is the question of the day. Hello, I'm Aishan, aka the Omnivorist. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner in Paris, France, and I'm passionate about helping busy moms recover their energy and vitality through real food and healthy habits. Welcome to my weekly series, Ask the Omnivorist, Food and Health Nuggets for Busy Mamas. Now, if you remember from last week, I explained to you that breakfast is a subject that can get confusing really fast. Now, chances are you're either having typical breakfast foods or you're skipping it altogether. And these are things that I don't recommend. And if you haven't watched last week's video, I get into this in more detail, so make sure to check that out. I will post the link for that in the comments below. And by the way, I have a special announcement to make at the end of today's episode, so be sure to stick around for that. So, as I said last week, the best way to start your day is with a nourishing, real, whole food breakfast. And actually, even before that, when you first wake up, I recommend that you start your day with a big glass of water or two. You could think about adding a splash of apple cider vinegar or some lemon juice. Those things are really beneficial for digestion. And then for your breakfast, I would recommend, instead of the refined carbs that most typical breakfast foods are composed of, I would encourage you to think about more fat and protein and complex carbs. Now, actually, the foods that we typically associate with breakfast today, they haven't been around for that long. Back in the day, breakfast used to be a meal just like any other. And it was only in the mid-century, like mid-20th century America, with advertising campaigns for store-bought cereal, that's when people's idea of typical breakfast foods changed really dramatically. But, you know, in many parts of the world, including in my native Turkey, breakfast it's still a very much more savory affair. And I'm telling you all this just so that you don't think that this is like a crazy idea that I came up with. So, like I said, you should think of like fat, protein, and complex carbs as opposed to more sweet or refined carb breakfast. And you should, if you can switch in your mind a little bit from a sweet to more of a savory taste in the morning, that's a great first step. Okay. So let's see. What does a nourishing real food breakfast look like? Now, the first thing I can think about is eggs. Eggs are great because they're so versatile, they're so practical, and they're the perfect package of fat and protein that I was telling you about. And also, just as a side note, the yolks are where all the nutrition is, so definitely don't be skipping on those, okay? Otherwise, avocados are great, sausage, good quality sausage or sausage patties, leftovers are always wonderful, veggies, roasted, steamed, sauteed veggies. What else? In the summer, I might have even a breakfast salad, which I make out of like tomatoes, cucumbers, feta cheese, really betraying my Turkish roots there. In Turkey, we also have olives on the breakfast table usually. And now that the weather is cooler in the winter, I might even have soup. And another thing I try to have is always something raw or lacto-fermented, because that's really beneficial for digestion. And that's actually a tip that you can use for every meal. It's good to have those for every meal. So, yeah, but the thing is, I don't want you to get scared, okay? You don't have to cook every morning to be eating like this. Now, the name of the game is preparation. First of all, if this sounds really radical to you, just try to wrap your mind around it first. That is your very first step. And then you start planning accordingly and you start making gradual changes. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. That's okay. Every little bit helps. Okay. So I have some tips for you to start making this a part of your life much more easily. For example, if you're really running out the door in the morning, you can consider, for example, having a bunch of hard-boiled eggs ahead of time. If you have an Instant Pot, it's even better. You can steam those eggs so easily in there with a little sea salt. That's something that you can grab really easily. You could also consider having, well, first of all, speaking of eggs, you should always have good quality farm fresh eggs because, cracking an egg on some leftovers, it's a way to turn it magically into breakfast. What else do I have for you? Oh yeah, speaking of leftovers, plan for leftovers. So when you're cooking for your other meals, make extra batches of everything because those can really be a lifesaver. Also, I always try to have vegetables or leafy greens on hand. So for example, I'll have some sauteed kale or cabbage, or sauteed or roasted vegetables. Those are always good, not only for breakfast. Again, you can just grab those on the go. They also make for a convenient last minute addition to a meal. Steamed potatoes. Again, with my Instant Pot, I love making steamed potatoes. Again, like with a hard-boiled egg, that makes the perfect thing on the go. Or if you have some more time, you can cut those up and saute them in butter. That's really delicious as well. Now, if you are having a hard time breaking your bread habit, for example, you could try making pancakes from buckwheat groats or things like chickpea or lentil flour, for example. You can also, I make this buckwheat bread that keeps really well. Those are all good ideas, and I'll include the recipes for those in the comments. And if you're going to have your bread anyway, just maybe try to have a little less of it. And also make sure that that you buy high quality bread, which means organic sourdough bread. So that's not usually your typical bakery or supermarket fare. Also, maybe you're wondering about coffee also. If you want to know all about my take on coffee, I have a whole video about that as well, which I'm going to post in the comments. So make sure to check that out also. Yeah, so, my thing is real food and healthy habits. So developing a real food breakfast habit, it's the perfect thing you can do in this beginning of the new year. Okay. That is really something that I think could go a long way in making some gradual but lasting changes to your well-being. So my takeaway for you today, once again, is number 1, do not skip breakfast. Number 2, do skip typical breakfast foods. Number 3, do take it easy until you make these changes gradually part of your life. So that is what I have for you today. To get even more tips and tricks from me and get a backstage pass into my own kitchen and life, be sure to join our free Facebook group, the Mama Reboot Community. And I will post the link for that in the comments. Yesterday, I did a tour of the organic shop where I usually do my grocery shopping. So that's something, if you're interested in that, make sure to join the group. Oh, and the other thing I was going to tell you, my announcement is that I have a free training coming up on Tuesday, February 13th called Filling the Empty Cup, 3 ways to start waking up more energized. Now, if you enjoy this series and if you're a tired mama who's looking to get more out of your days, then you definitely don't want to miss this one. I'm going to explain to you in further detail just why it is and how it is that the modern world does everything in its power to keep us from feeling our best, and top priority ways that you can start incorporating right away to start feeling better, to start getting your energy back. If you are interested in that free training, you can sign up at theomnivorist.com/free webinar. Once again, I'll post that in the comments as well. Okay, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you right here next week. Have a great day.